My name is Joseph Hurst. I live in Ankeny, Iowa, and I'm a part of the PMBA program. I currently work as the Director of Sales at Stony Creek Hotels in Johnston, Iowa, and I chose the Iowa State MBA program because it just made perfect sense. About 2 years ago, I started this wonderful program, and I couldn't imagine not having done it. What has helped the most balance work, life, school, has been the people I'm in class with. It's great to go through questions, problems, study for tests, and it just makes the whole class so much easier. As a working professional thinking about doing an MBA program, I get night classes aren't everybody's dream. I get after a long day of work, you may not want to go do more, but it's worth it. You're going to learn a lot, not just from the professors in the program, but from the other students. They come from all walks of life. They are from different age groups. They're from different companies. They're from all kinds of different backgrounds. They've got all kinds of different stories. And after 2 years, I've made some of the best friends I've ever made, learned the most I've ever learned, and I can't imagine what we're going to do after we're done.
Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag-grown technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
Welcome in to Williams and Blum Wednesday with neither Williams nor Blum, and we're not recording. I mean, it comes out on Wednesday. We're not recording this on Wednesday, so it's neither Williams nor Blum nor Wednesday.
I am Williams, and today we're going to talk about wrestling, NASCAR, nukes.
Hey, it's the same show. I'm Jeff Woody. I'm here with Grant Mahoney. We're filling in for Chris because he has a family that he's going to spend time with before he's busy 80 hours a week. Who does that?
Yeah, I wish I did more of it.
Yeah, man. Okay. Williams Blum, both Wednesday and Sunday, is brought to you by Mechdyne, Mechdyne. Chris Clover is the CEO of Mechdyne. Is just like a tremendously nice person. With Justice Jones, he is at Iowa State in charge of like professional development, and so I've kind of been involved with stuff like that just because with gyms there's a lot of kinesiology, exercise science majors that they're looking to get experience and information on that, and their professionals and pro day and stuff. And I actually got to know Chris Clover from that, and like he's just anyone that he can help, he will help. So it's just Mechdyne, just great people. So this show, we're getting into the point where I know personally, I'm busy on weekends, just doing stuff with Channel 5, doing stuff for Drake, just working on doing football stuff. And I'll be traveling for the next couple weeks. So we're getting to the point, Grant, that I don't have any weekends free between now and the middle of December. And I'm getting excited about it because we are very close to football season.
Yeah, I'm starting to like kind of crack down on my yard work because I know in about 3 or 4 weeks, my weekends will be consumed, and so I won't have any time to do my yard work. So
as like a yard maintenance thing and fall schedule, are you an NFL Sunday? Like how much of your Sunday is occupied by the NFL? Not
a whole lot. I used to, prior to being married, I used to just sit on my couch all day Saturday, all day Sunday.
Great day.
But now I need to be an adult, and so I'll watch a couple of games, here and there. Usually I'll just kind of tune in or I'll just check on my phone. I don't have a team, so I just kind of follow who's ever my fantasy teams and see how they're doing. And I'll watch a game here and there. If one of the Iowa State teams, I'd say the
Jets,
the Lions, or the Niners,
the Niners, the Packers with Anthony Johnson. I'm sure we're missing some.
Yeah, I'll tune in. I guess Hakeem now with the Bengals. I'll tune in a little bit. Also, Mike Rose had a tryout with the Saints. Has a tryout with the Saints.
Good for him.
And Michael Jacobson, former basketballer, I saw him catching passes in Saints training camp. So
hey, good for him.
Yeah. So, but to answer your question, my Sundays aren't really consumed that much by NFL. They're kind of a recoup and regenerate day for us. So kind of, yeah.
Saturdays are hard.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into. There is some stuff that came out this past week. The coaches poll for football came out today. We're recording on Monday. It'll come out on Wednesday. Came out today. So we're going to talk about that for the Wiffles Hybrid Big 12 segment at the end. And also in the Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment, Jeff Borzello came out with a way too early basketball top 25. And oh, boy, the Big 12, man. it is going to be just an absolute meat grinder. But before we get into any of that, we are going to talk. So Aiden and I, Grant, you elected to miss it because you couldn't take PTO because you have a job that requires you take PTO. Aiden actually got paid to be up there. We went to Okoboji. So I think you caught up to us because you were with Brent's group for the first 2 or so holes.
Yeah.
And I think you ran into us on the 3rd hole.
My God, we got lost on that course. I think so.
Emerald Hills in Okoboji,
Yeah.
by the way. Beautiful course.
Yeah.
Super, super
Yeah.
fun. And I also, before you get into I got to shout out my group. So it's Mike Vandepol, his son Trey, and just that group, super, super fun.
That's
He's
his course, right?
He's the course
Yeah.
superintendent. So talk about a little bit of course knowledge when you're playing with the course superintendent. So it was like, also in best ball, you can play you hit a driver way more than you really would ever want to. So he'd be like, well, based on your first drive is about 310. You just take it over that tree right there. And it's like, all right, I'll try it. If it goes straight, it goes straight. If it doesn't, I don't care. So I appreciate that. That was a super fun group. I will absolutely be back. If this event is a second annual next year, I will 100% be back. Anyway, you guys got lost.
Yeah. So I don't remember what happened, but we went back to the clubhouse. I think
You got lost. It was on
We were doing
7,
something.
I think. It was 7 or 8 where you got lost on because they
Well,
actually had mowed.
because we followed. Yeah. So we followed you guys probably the first 2 holes, and then
Yeah.
we went back to the clubhouse to do something. I don't remember what.
Poop.
Anyway,
Maybe to get a glizzy.
no, that place was too in for a glizzy. And Jacqueline texted Bloom, like, where are you guys at? He's like, oh, we're about to tee off on 9. We're like, perfect. We'll meet you out there. It took us probably 30 minutes to find a hole 9. And then
You know
we're
the
like,
holes are numbered in a row, right? 1
So,
goes to 2
yes,
to
yes.
3.
So we followed that, and it was like we got to 7,
And
then-
7
and 7 runs right next to 3 for some reason. The way that it was laid out,
because you have to go
So
back
we
to the
just
clubhouse.
kept going in circles, and the issue was we had heard that there was one Jack Trice not painted,
There's
mowed.
2. And it was really cool. So I'm going to interrupt
Saw
that for a
that, yeah.
second.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I think it was 7 and 15 maybe where the green is elevated.
Yeah.
And so like right coming up into the green, there's maybe 30 feet of hill and maybe 30 feet long of hill. And they mowed in the Jack Trice logo into those hills right in front of the green. Like it was really, really cool. Again, really well done. But anyway.
So we thought there was just 1, but there was 2. So we're like running in circles, seeing both of these. It was like we were in an episode of The Twilight Zone, and it was just one thing after another.
And then I think we finally bumped into each other at the clubhouse when I was, stopping at 9, getting some food, refilling drinks, going to the bathroom. And then you came up and you're like, we've been driving in circles for 30 minutes.
I swear to God, it was unbelievable how much we drove in circles.
So
But-
were you playing?
No, I was
Who's-
just in a golf cart.
But who you're with? Were they?
Jacqueline.
No,
So
it was
she-
just
oh,
those,
oh,
it was
just you
just
two.
driving
those
around.
2 just driving around,
Okay.
going to be in the media.
I was saying because if I was like the group behind you, I'd be like, where are these guys? Like oh hey guys, showing up.
Like just go play. Hey, that's like a free way to get extra golf. Is just go and don't head back to the clubhouse. Just go
Just
from
F
8 back
lot.
to 3 and just keep playing. From
I don't
8
know
to
where
3.
we're at.
I've been here for 19 hours. I played 71 rounds of golf.
Jeff got to hear my favorite line in a golf course, which is every time that anyone hits a ball, just you're gonna love that. I don't see where it goes, just every time. Oh, you're gonna love that. There was one time he's like, you didn't even see that one. You're gonna love it.
And what's funny is that from that point forward, we would keep doing the same thing. Like, and it's better when it's obvious. The instant that it leaves the
Yeah.
club face, and it's just sideways.
Oh, you're gonna love that.
You're gonna love that one. No, I'm not, man. It's out of bounds.
Because it works both ways. Whether either one you actually are gonna like it, or it's a funny joke.
Yeah, it's a funny. It was well done.
I feel like we could have an entire show on like the backhanded niceties of golf. Like you miss a putt, hey, great speed.
Great line, man.
Hey, you had a right line there, just left a little short.
It's it's just a right club there. Just a little off, a little direction off.
Pin high, you're
It was
You guys want to hear
30
something?
feet off the green, but pin high.
65
You guys want
yards
to hear something
sideways.
real embarrassing?
Yes, please.
So on,
You've
I don't
never
remember what
golfed before?
hole. Pretty much,
Okay.
it leads into the story. Bloom let me tee off. He's like, celebrity shot. I'm like, all right, let's do it. I probably took 8 to 10 whacks at it. Didn't make contact once.
Oh boy, you tried though.
I tried. I
You're gonna
tried
love
my
that.
dearly darn hardest. I actually did make contact the last time. It went like 4 feet to my left.
I don't think you should feel bad about that though. I've seen some of the guys in the football team swing, and it looks like none of them have ever golfed before either. So
It was like,
you're basically on the football team.
thanks. I'll take that.
Yeah. Not everyone though. Rocco's got a nice stroke.
I mean, he's a quarterback. I feel like it's
And
kind
from-
of inherent.
and
It's
he's
from
from
Florida. Like I
Yeah.
feel like and his dad was in the
It's in his
NFL.
blood.
So like I feel like we talked about it with Charlie earlier this year on Kicking It that he's started picking up golf a lot more now that you're in the NFL because you make a ton of money and you're also off for like 4 or 5 months out of the year during the nice part from like April to June or whenever you have to report. So you have like 4 months, a lot of money, and competitive people. Like I feel like NFL players, if you're in the league for more than like 2 years, you're going to be a good golfer. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I there's no reason not to. Like you said, you got all that downtime, and you've got money, so travel. He had mentioned that he went to go visit his girlfriend in Hawaii or something. I think he golfed there too. Oh, that sounds terrible.
That was rough.
Yeah.
I really wish that. I mean, maybe someday we can have 4 months off with several $1 million
And just
in
take
the
an
bank.
impromptu
and just
trip
impromptu trip for 3 weeks to go golf in Hawaii.
I miss my Colin Jeff.
You just need to do. You need to be 6'6", 270, and really good at blocking.
Yeah. One day.
Speaking of 6'6", 270, really good at blocking. We're gonna start the show. Actually, I take that back. We have one thing we need to talk, or not need to talk about. We're going to talk about on August 16th, one of my favorite events of the year. CF throws good parties, by the way, and good events. The Cyclone Fanatic Roadshow is in LeClaire at Cody Road, which is where any one of those bourbon bottles are from. I believe there's still tickets available. The program starts. It's a Friday evening. I'll be out there. Are you going out to that one?
I'm not.
Turd. We'll be. I mean, it's always fun. I think I don't want to overpromise, but I believe some athletes are going to be going out there, kind of making an appearance. It's always a super fun time. Ryan with the Mississippi River Distilling always has great cocktails. Super fun vibe.
I think they're going to be unveiling the new Cyclone Fanatic bottle there too, right?
It's cool. I believe it. It's going to be cool.
I think that's when they're unveiling, right?
Releasing it. It's been unveiled already.
That's what I
I
mean.
can pull it up quick.
Releasing it.
So you can actually get one.
Correct.
So there'll be time to mingle, ask questions. Just listen to kind of get prepped for the season. At that point, we'd only be 15 days away from. Oh, there's the bottle. It's got like it's kind of
it's clean,
like the Jack Trice-ish font almost, kind of that, the kind of retro-y.
The numbers, like where it says bourbon, I guess straight.
Oh, yeah, it's like the numbers font. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like the numbers font for bourbon and straight bourbon on there. If I would imagine you could just Google it. If this is, if you're driving right now, don't Google it. That's kind of a dick move to Google a bourbon bottle while you're driving. I feel like it's a double negative.
We can get parked though.
Yeah, when you're parked at some point, or like at a red light that's exceptionally
Or
long.
just watch our show on YouTube.
There you go. After all the kind of announcements of things, the first thing we want to talk about, at least a little bit, is when we're in Okoboji at the event, there's kind of a Q&A, and there's a lot of Q&A stuff on realignment, which I'm not great at realignment necessarily, because that's what we ask people like Jason Shear about, and that's what Chris and Brent talk about, who, again, they have families and are doing stuff with those people.
But if you want to know about nuclear weapons, NASCAR, wrestling, I'm your guy.
You're not Chris.
Oh.
Close. But some of the questions that we got,
Aliens.
some of the questions that we got were about like the defensive setup for football when they're talking about the 4-down stuff. And that to me is really interesting because of what it can do potentially with the defense and how it works. So per the internet, what information is out there existing that we're talking about the 4-down stuff, because then I'll talk about like the logistics of what a 4-down could look like.
What do you mean? Like what's existing out there?
Yeah, like whether that's people have gotten more into it, because again, I don't do the internet.
Yeah,
so
I think everyone's on board because I would say struggles so much stopping the run. The defense has very much a bend don't break type philosophy where they're gonna let you catch the ball in front of them and tackle it before the first down. But teams are just gashing Iowa State running the ball. Especially on like a draw or like a dump off where our safeties are reading the running back. Once they see it's a pass, they drop back. Then you've got those guys like Malik and Cooper and Freeler who are kind of the fourth-ish lineman, if you will, who will come up and plug a run. You saw that so often, those three guys, fit into the holes and stop a guy close to the line of scrimmage. Whereas if it was a draw, that's where they kind of got exposed of dropping back, thinking it was going to be a pass, and then boop, handoff, and then could kind of get gashed.
And I think the logistics on it, I think the 4 down, I would imagine it'd be 4-2-5, just as far as like the logistics of what a 4 down would look like.
I would agree with that too, because the D-backs are so deep and are probably the best defensive group.
And you need those 3 safeties in the field between Cooper, Freeler, and Verdun. You need those 3 safeties in the field at the same time.
You say Verdun?
Verdun.
Okay.
Verdun.
All right. And I think the reason why the 4 down lineman is going to work is because the defensive line is deep now. The defensive line is talented, and I think the guy that they brought in from ULM, I think it was Kennard Snyder, he's been really showing out too in camp, and he's going to play quite a bit at D end as well too. So, and no disrespect to the linebackers, but I think that's the weakest. I don't think they're weak, but I think that's the
relative competition
Correct.
to the other groups. And I think
that's the weakest group on the defense, which makes sense why they would only run
part
2.
of the reason why I think the 3-3-5 worked really well is because stopping the run falls a lot on safeties coming up, which Iowa State still has, where you have, whether it's Aisheem Young or whether it's Bo Freeler or
David Sims.
That dude's a freak.
Yeah.
That dude was a freak.
You're doing great in this defense.
Oh, man. Dude, David Sims is built to be like the field side safety for this. But the safeties are still there. The safety quality has been the same, and the safety size has been about the same. I mean, Verdun is like 6'4", like 225. Like we've
got some young studs waiting in the wings too.
But the linebackers with Joel and Orion Vance and Mike Rose being kind of and then you can have a smaller guy like a Gary Vaughn or a Marcel Spears that also exists in the box, but you have to have a guy that's built like a defensive end or plays as aggressively as Joel did. This year they have more linebackers, and last year they have more linebackers, guys like Sadowski, guys like McLaughlin, that play more conventional linebacker positions, which is better in space than engaging with an offensive lineman. And we talked about it with Joel on Kicking It when he was on, is he was playing at 240, which is a really small interior linebacker for that setup, because if there are 5 offensive linemen and there are 3 defensive linemen, you are outnumbered by 2. So let's say that, a guy who's really big and strong, like a Dom Orange, can eat up one of the guards and the center. Well, there's still another guard that's totally unencumbered that can just run and hit you square in the face. So the linebackers in the past years, when that defense has been really good at stopping the run, in which we're talking about this like the defense is bad. It just hasn't been the level of super excellent that they have been in the past. They're like an A- instead of an A as far as defensive run stopping. But in the past, they've had a Joel Lanning, they've had an Orion Vance, they've had a Mike Rose who can play, and Mike generally played in space, I get that, but they've generally had somebody who could take on a guard and play physically with them and still kind of function like a defensive lineman, and they can operate in that skill set really, really well. I don't think that these linebackers, you're not putting them in a position to succeed as much as they otherwise would if they have to do that every single play. In the same way as this basketball team, that the upcoming men's basketball team, actually the women's team is a better example. The women's team, you got Audie Crooks that's in the middle, and then you got shooters all the way around her. If you force this team, if the elected choice was to play 2 bigs, like you played Audie and then whoever, I forget the name of her back, the LSU gal or whatever the transfer was, and you play both of them on the floor at the same time, and then you have like a dribble drive offense. It's not that the team is going to be bad, but you're just not playing to their strengths as well as you could. So for the women's basketball team, you want to put Audie down low and you want to get her established in a position. You want Emily Ryan, or you want to have Ariana Jackson bring the ball up, and you want your shooters to space everything, and you're just then putting the players in the best position to succeed with their skill set.
Because they can't double Audie because you leave a shooter open.
Right. So I don't think that these linebackers in any way are less than stellar. It's just their best is going to be operating in I think would be probably, and this is limited, Sadowski's a true sophomore. So like there's not a huge sample size.
Well, and like McLaughlin's a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah,
so
like
they're still, and that, I guess, sorry to interrupt you. That's what I meant by like the weakest. They're not, I wouldn't even say the linebackers are weak. They're just they're
Unproven.
They're young, unproven. Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't have enough sample size on them. And they still could do that. And maybe if I still think they're going to major in the 3-3-5 unless the 4-2-5 or whatever ends up being works really well, in which case do that more. But I think what would make them more successful is giving a little more protection to the linebackers by having another big human that's in front of them, allow them to run around in space, because then the rest of the linebackers, whoever it is, and there's a freshman, isn't there a freshman that's playing, or a sophomore?
Kale Perzina.
Yeah.
Kale Perzina is a true freshman.
And so you have,
is that you're talking about?
I think there's the linebacker group is deep and they're just unproven, but you have guys that can then run around and make plays and just go be tacklers. And the second part of that is that the players formations plays thing that Campbell always espouses. You can't tell me that J.R. Singleton and Dom Orange aren't two of your best 11 defensive players. You can't tell me that.
Big Citrus he's a future pro.
He's a future, I think, top half. He's a day 1, day 2 kind of pro.
Because he was only a true freshman last year, right?
So
oh, Jeff.
So he's a
big Citrus
big
fan.
human, and he's a super sharp guy too. Yeah. Like in all the stuff working with the team, he is a super. The three, a lot of guys are really impressive, but the three guys that to me that were the most impressive talking to him were James Neal, Jim Boniface, and Dom Orange. Like those three were just as humans, like having conversations with just really, really impressive people. But
side note, I just remember watching, was it last year, the first game, one of the first couple games when Dom got in there, because I was watching, I usually don't watch defensive line. He just would drive guys yards. I was like, holy shit, this guy's a true freshman. He's that strong already. I mean, because
he's like this wide.
Further on your point too, he was, I'm guessing he was probably just raw, pure talent. Not as much muscle now, not as much muscle then as he is now. Probably a little bit of baby fat. So now he's gotten a year under his belt, year and a half under his belt with the strength staff. I mean, you're not going to be able to not double team him because he's going to be so disruptive.
Right. And what's different about him than guys that you've had like a Ray Lima in the past. Ray is that his play style, and again, just putting a fish in water. The whole Einstein quote, whether it's apocryphal or not, if you judge everything by its ability to climb a tree, you'd think fish are stupid. Like that type of thing, where you're putting him in a situation to succeed. Ray Lima was an offensive lineman eating machine.
But can he climb a tree?
Could he climb a tree? Probably. Yeah. He would just pull the tree down.
That's true.
He just grab the tree and just yank it out of the root. But he's not going to be much of a pass rusher. He's not going to get a lot of penetration. He's more going to absorb a lot of the blocks to let everybody else run free. Dom is good at getting penetration into the backfield and also eating up blocks. And J.R. Singleton is also that. So having those two guys, it marries the ability of putting those two guys and just getting two of your best 11 on the field. And also, I think freeing up the linebackers to be a little bit more into a natural position, a little bit easier for them because they're all really young. You know what's easier to do is find a running back,
C-ball tackle,
as opposed to you got
shed a enormous human,
330-pound grizzly bear who's trying to throw you out of the stadium and then make tackle.
Yeah.
So I think he's that was one of the questions that we just got while we were on the roadshow, and I think it's just interesting. I feel like they will start toe in the water with that, and I imagine they would only run it with JR and Orange, and then if they have to sub those guys out because they get tired, they would game situation dependent, but I would imagine they'd switch back to the 3-down rather than trying to have new guys that you might not have as much confidence in learn a 4-down front and a 3-down front, understand the rules, get everything familiar. So I'd imagine they're going to have those two, when they're healthy and fresh, be able to do that. And then maybe if it works, then hell yeah, switch that thing over.
I'll be curious too to see when they implement it, because I would think that they would, if it's a team that doesn't have a strong running back, like I have to imagine we'll probably be in a 4-down lineman when we play Oklahoma State
and Iowa.
Yeah.
Like because of their formations.
Yes. But as far as like a team like a Baylor who has the Toledo transfer, I think his name's Daquan Finn, stud. But this is probably a little biased of me to say, I don't think he's seen a defense like Iowa State's before. So whether they're in a 3 or 4-down lineman, I could see them forcing him. I could see them being in a 3-down lineman defense, forcing the quarterback to beat you, because they do have a good running back. But like I guess what I'm trying to say is like newer, unproven quarterbacks, they may try to be in a 3-down lineman to force the quarterbacks to beat them when they haven't seen defense
or things or done as well as
Correct.
what the Big 12 and Iowa State tend to do, like in Arizona, like a Noah Fifita,
a Utah. I mean,
Utah's they want to play downhill. You need to match their
probably
physicality.
a little more like Iowa,
But like, yeah, they're like kind of Oklahoma State, probably like physical, more spread out, but downhill physical. But I think like an Arizona is a team that you probably want to play 3 down it, unless if you can play that 4 down and you can get pressure, because 4 down linemen means, again, now 5 to 4, there's 5 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen. That means you can double team one, and then tackle on defensive end,
solo,
guard and center on another one, and then guard, tackle, one-on-one everywhere else. So like you have 3 one-on-ones that you can win. And if you have 4 defensive linemen that can rush the passer, like Iowa State does, and you have 4 one-on-ones, you can generate more pressure with that than having to bring extra blitzers, which then leaves guys like Cooper back in coverage. It brings whatever linebackers that can play underneath tight ends and get rid of those quick little passes and allow for more time. So it'll be an interesting balance to strike, and I think that's going to be, I don't know how much of that you're going to see in week 1, because if you have a completely new defensive front and you don't need it, why would you give Iowa's offensive line the chance to see what you're going to do?
You won't see it. I hope that, when they play North Dakota, the first game, that it's over by halftime. I want to see a lot of the young guys get reps, and I want them to be vanilla. I know our fans don't want to hear that Iowa State runs 8 different plays. First game, do that.
I think it's efficient. That's the thing that I want to see.
Because with Mauser, I know it's gonna be like the playbook's gonna be relatively the same, I'm assuming, but with a new offensive coordinator and with should be a far inferior team in North Dakota.
North Dakota's good. I mean, the Dakota schools are good,
but Iowa State should be able to run base offense and defense and still beat them.
Yeah, be able to.
I mean, we're so they're so loaded at every position that I would hope that some of the younger guys are getting in there, and we're not really revealing too much for Iowa.
Yeah, and I think the logistics of week 1, especially defensively, I would imagine it's going to be more similar from last year to this year. There's a whole lot of returning starters. You do lose Gary Vaughn, so you are going to have somebody else, but you have the dot in the back of the head. Like, you have helmet communication now, so that's going to be different from last year, this year. And so how does the logistics work? Do you signal in plays, and then, let's say that Dion is signaling to I don't know if he's in the box or whatever. Let's say safeties coach or some secondary coach is signaling in the coverage. The defensive line coach is signaling in the front and whatever. And then Haycock is able to say, hey, they're in 31 personnel. They've got number 18 out at tight end. Make sure you watch him if he goes to whatever. And you can start giving those notes into this headset. Maybe that's the logistics of how that's going to work. So week 1, I would rather see logistics get handled, that how that's going to flow, especially on the offensive side, than a lot of new formations and fronts and stuff. Then the next week, if you've you might show it a series so you can get a feel for how the rotations go. What's it like to have 2 guys to give your linebackers a chance to see it before you get to Iowa? But I would imagine just keep it, I don't want to say vanilla, but like there's already going to be enough variables with helmet communication, with adrenaline. You're getting guys back with Mauser calling the plays. I think as efficient and as uneventful of a week 1 as you could possibly handle would make for the most beneficial week 1 to me before you get to week 2. And then I imagine if the 4 down front is as potentially successful as it could be, you might see a lot of it in Kinnick.
Yeah, I'm so drunk on this team though this year. I mean, like
you called it last year.
I did, and no one is giving Iowa State any credit. Everyone's talking about Utah, Kansas State, Arizona. Deservedly so. Those teams are talented and they have an easier schedule than a lot of the other teams. But no one's talking about Iowa State, and I love that. I don't want the pressure to be on them. Just go and do your thing. But I'm so drunk. I want to talk about I'm not drunk right now. Drunk on this team. I'm drunk on a Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
I want to talk about a couple
Kool-Aid is Cody.
A couple guys that I've heard that I'm big on. Cooper Alexander, he's a true freshman tight end. I think he came from Oklahoma. The tight end room is loaded. absolutely loaded.
Always.
But I've heard that he is standing out, so I'd be surprised if we see him play a little bit. Dylan Lee, the running back, he was kind of the star of the spring game. I don't think Abu will. I think Campbell likes to have like a running back by committee, and so I think we'll see Dylan Lee play a little bit. But also Jalen Jackson, the transfer from Eastern Michigan, he has carved out a role too. So I think he's a good return guy, but I think he's also kind of Jarvis West, but bigger and like a more of a running back, kind of like a gadget scat guy. He's only like 5'6". He's pretty small, but he's quick. He's shifty. I think he's kind of carved out a role too. Carson Hansen too. We saw him a little bit last year, but I think we're gonna see him a lot in like shorter, kind of like your role, if you will, when you were there.
Sure. Put the white guy in the short running or short yardage situation.
Yeah. How tall are you?
Not 6'2", 6 foot,
okay.
6 even.
Yeah, so 6. So I think we'll see him kind of shorter yardage, but also I think we'll see Carson in the slot a little bit. I think he's gonna be more of a catcher than a pass catcher than Abu or a Dylan Lee. You mentioned Cale Berzina, who's a true freshman linebacker. I think he's got a chance to play a little bit too. I think his brother or dad, someone was in the NFL. He's got some kind of NFL lineage. He looks good though. He looks the part. He looks big. Our wide receiver room is loaded, but I think Dom Overby, who is a receiver from Utah that came in, they have shown him quite a bit on social media, and Iowa State football has been known to kind of highlight guys that, hey, keep an eye out for this guy. They've kind of shown him a little bit. He looks so raw out there though, but I think he's got a chance to play in some blowouts. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him play a little bit versus North Dakota. Last couple of guys. Jalen Travis, offensive lineman from Princeton, the transfer.
Yeah.
He's going to be a day 1 or 2 draft guy.
Real deal.
If he performs like he should. He's smart. He's huge. He's super talented.
He already got a full ride to law school at Columbia. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah. From his work, from his academics at Princeton, because he's a grad transfer.
Yeah.
He's already got accepted into law school, full ride to Columbia Law.
So the dude's, he's got some things going for him.
Okay, he's smart and he's 6'6" and he's built like
He's 6'9".
So he's 6'9", he's carved out of granite. Who cares? Okay.
Yeah, I mean the dude is absolutely chiseled. He is just carved out of marble is what he's carved out of. Last couple guys, Dylan Barrett, who's the transfer
You
from.
You can get countertops made out of Princeton office. We're talking about marble.
Can I get a countertop made out of Jalen Travis?
Yeah.
That's some Silence of the Lamb stuff, Jeff.
What?
Clarice.
It doesn't have a wall. I've already checked.
Clarice.
Dylan Barrett, though, he's the center from Wisconsin, who he's in the running for center. I just hope that the O-line can have 2 deep, where if Jim is the starter and goes down, that Dylan can step in and don't miss a beat. Because we have a lot of talented guys. Burr, who's a young guy. Hazer, it's a young guy who got dinged up, but they're young. Didn't play a whole lot. And then the last guy I mentioned him is Kennard Snyder, the D end. He's going to play. He's made some waves in camp. So there's your Cyclone report from Chris Williams.
What voice was that?
Aliens are coming.
Williams Blum is brought to you by Gravitate Co-working, which the head of Gravitate Co-working is a wonderful man. You know why? His name is Jeff Wood.
Close, not quite close.
He's a G Jeff though.
Oh, Geoff.
He's a G Jeff. He's not a J Jeff.
Geoff.
Yeah, a Geoff.
Geoff. Okay.
Yeah, he's a Geoff.
Okay.
Really nice guy though. Again, just another nice person. GravitateCoworking.com. If you need to get out of the house to actually do a little bit of work, or if you just need to be productive somewhere and actually interact with other adults. I have an 8.5-month-old. Most of my time is with an 8.5-month-old. So Gravitate Co-working would be a nice place if I needed to get work done, not around a baby.
I think they also on Fridays they'll have like potluck day sometimes.
Cannot confirm, but would not.
I might have made that up, but I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere.
And if they don't, hey Jeff, there's an idea.
Or donut day on Friday. They got some on Fridays. So if you're like, oh, I'm thinking about a day going in, go Fridays. Check it out.
Also go to hopewoodjd.com. Get your will done in a day with Hopewood. I need to get mine updated, actually.
I need to do one.
I have one. Aiden, do you have yours done?
No, but football season's rolling around. You never know with these clones.
There you go.
Cardiac clones.
Cardiac clones, everybody. Also brought to you by Williams Blum. Also brought to you by the Iowa State University Foundation. So we talked about football. There's been some fun stuff about basketball that's come out just a little bit. Yes?
Yeah, it has, yeah. Big 12 is loaded.
Well, no, I was talking about, we'll get to that in the Wiffles Hybrid.
Iowa State's basketball team is loaded.
Yeah. Because I think one didn't Noyes play in something.
Noyes is a dog. Noyes just played in the FIBA U18, I think.
That's under 18.
Yeah,
so he's got to be
which is crazy.
18 years
Yeah.
to play basketball.
Tore it up. I mean, the dude tore it up. He's gonna be a dog. Heisey, the transfer from UNI, he's gonna play quite a bit. And then I think the fans are gonna love Brant Chatfield. He is gonna be this year's Bob Jones. Bab. The team, I think, is when you think of TJ guys, I think of Taman, who is just unselfish on the offensive side.
Hopefully has a healthy shoulder this year.
Yep. Unselfish on the offensive side, loves to dive after balls, knows that those things are what gets the crowd going, what gets your teammates going, and just gritty on defense. They love to just dig their heels in and get on defense, get down on defense. I think that's what we're going to see from a lot of these guys, because I think Brant is an unselfish guy who just does the dirty stuff. The transfer from St. Mary's, Jefferson, I think he is going to be a dog as well too. Heisey, I think we should have a lot of guys that are coming in who, not that they're unproven, but they want to prove themselves at the next level. And I think I saw somewhere, I might be making this up too, all of the guys who transferred in, had their stats been the same from last year as this year, I'm butchering this. The guys who are coming in would have been the leading rebounder for Iowa State had they been on the team last year.
Huh.
Does that make sense?
You know who in that list of all the people that you didn't mention too?
Momchilovich?
Little dipsy doodle.
Yeah. Up and under.
I think it'll be interesting with the basketball team, specifically because of guys like Milan, who, because of Taman, because of Keyshawn, because of Jiggy, having those three guards, and then also having Heisey be able to play as an off guard. I'd imagine he has the capacity to take the ball up the court if he needed to, but with Keyshawn and Taman, you shouldn't have to. But you have four, and then Noyes, like you have 4.5, 5 guards that can all play and can all shoot. Milan then draws a lot of assignments with bigger guys that will, because of the depth of the backcourt, you are going to have to put your smaller guys on whoever the guards are. So you're going to have this, whatever your wing / guy is, or maybe even a big on Milan. And if he's been able to develop his shot, as a lot of the guys have shown to be able to go from year 1 to year 2, just taking a jump as they have under TJ, his offensive game, he might be the leading scorer for this team, because he's always going to draw, or not always, almost always going to draw a bad defensive assignment, or he, in any game, they make him the primary scouting report guy, and then someone else can go off because of his capacity to go against if you put a weaker defender on him. I think Milan is set, to me, to have one of the best seasons offensively, potentially the best offensive season that outside maybe Isaiah Brockington that TJ's had. Yeah,
and you have to remember he was also a true freshman last year, so he was raw. You know, you're not going to work on too much during the season, because you just go out there and play. When I say that, you're not going to try to implement like new moves, not going to try to get him to, you know, work on his dipsy doodle up and under. But I think in the offseason, I think he probably worked on strength and his inside game and defense, because I know big reason why Momchilovich came to Iowa State is because of TJ's defense. And he knew that, hey, I'm a good offensive guy. I need to work on my defense. And so that is one big thing that kind of got exposed a little bit at times last year, especially if he's going to be.
And he got better though. I mean, he was one of the leading minutes.
I'm not saying he's bad. He wasn't bad. But if there were a weakness in Milan, it was his defense, and he could be, a draft pick after this next year, first rounder potentially. But he knows that he needs to play defense to get there.
Yeah. And speaking of basketball, then we'll get to the Wiffles Big 12 segment, because, like we said at the top, Big 12, man. So, like we said, Jeff Borzello came out with a way too early top 25. But and this one, like, it's way too early, but it's not way too early, because I think the rosters now are mostly set. I think there might, at this point in the year, because the Maui's in November, yes, like around Thanksgiving. So
25th through 27th.
Yeah, so Maui's in November. So school, like a lot of the kids are going to be reporting to whatever school they're going to be playing for in 2 weeks-ish from when school starts.
I think some kids are starting. I think Iowa State, some kids are
already there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to be, at the school to play for the school. So I think the rosters are mostly set. So this is the first one I've seen that actually the whole roster construction of most of the teams across the country is more or less set. How many teams? I mean, we already asked this. We talked about this ahead of time. We planned this. There are 50% of the top 10 in men's college basketball are in the same conference. And Iowa State is the 4th of those teams.
Which I think is too low.
Yeah. But Kansas, number 1. You know what?
They're loaded. They reloaded really well, and they've still got
Bill Self. They still got Bill Self.
But their guard, they got Dickinson back, and they got
Juan Harris?
Yeah.
Really?
He's back.
For like the 64th year.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, Bill Self deserves benefit of the doubt. Like, he's Bill Self. He's as much as I feel like with the whole K-State hate that happened this year, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I feel like a lot of the Iowa State fans who had previously held a negative opinion of Bill Self after the Jerome Tang incident this year, I feel like are now less like, you know what, we're cool. We just hate that guy together.
Can I have a hot take for you?
Yeah, please.
I'm not sure Bill Self is a good coach as much as he is a good recruiter, and his teams win because his teams are so loaded.
It's a hot take.
I also think that Lincoln Riley is not a good coach.
That one's less of a hot take.
I think he left Oklahoma because he knew Oklahoma was the Big 12 was catching up to them, and Oklahoma was going to leave with the SEC and was going to be exposed. And he goes to USC and got exposed there.
I think Lincoln Riley. This is not Big 12 basketball, but I think Lincoln Riley has a fundamental flaw that is correctable, but with as an offensive coordinating head coach who is really good at coaching quarterbacks, like that is objectively true. I mean, look at how many guys in the NFL that are succeeding in the NFL that are Lincoln Riley guys.
How many Heismans he's had?
Yeah, how many? I mean, he's
three or four.
Really good offensive coach. But the downside is when you're looking only through that lens, there are times when the right thing is to dial it back because your defense, you need to help control the pace of the game on behalf of your defense and set up a structure so that you should win some games defensively. And I don't think Alex Grinch is a bad coordinator. I just think that the way that when they see a chance to score, they almost always will take that chance to score, which is sometimes good. But sometimes it puts you in a position where you're going to score in 35 seconds, which is awesome, or you're going to go 3 and out, and that's not awesome. And then you put your defense back on the field. And then when you're an offensive focused head coach, you are looking at practice through the lens of how do I make my offense better as opposed to how do I make this team better. And it's a fine line to work. But I think if you were to tone the octane down a little bit of the offense and make it a more defensive focused team that has a solid offense, that's when you start getting to the teams that can be the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Michigans. I mean, hell, look at when Ohio State won the national title with the like 4 quarterbacks they had, whatever, Cardale Jones and the rest of the crew. That group still had an explosive offense, but they focused on a defense and just happened to have a good offense. When you focus on having a good offense at the expense of everything else, I feel like that's just a fundamental shift that might need to happen.
And I know it's the Big 12 thing. Is this last thing I'll say on Lincoln Riley. I feel like Lincoln Riley early on at Oklahoma rode the coattails of Bob Stoops and the talent that was there. But then, like I said, once the Big 12 talent caught up and he was kind of exposed.
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Well, this is my hot take. I'm rolling with it, okay? And then when he went to USC, he had so many good recruits that went there in a weak Pac-12 that he could do all that. To me, it's a kind of a comparison to when Deion Sanders was at Jackson State. Is he a good coach? I don't think he is. But he had so many good guys there that they were just more talented than the guys around him. And that's why he looked like a good coach, because they were winning.
We'll see. USC should be, I mean, they're in the Big Ten now. Like, there's every other team.
I think they'll go 7-5.
Yeah. I don't know who they got at quarterback, but he's going to make them good. I think the defense is still going to be bad. Going to be hard to stop the run. Just, I don't know. We'll see. But back to Big 12.
Sorry for hijacking the Big 12 segment here.
So, of the top 10 in basketball, Kansas, number 1. Houston, number 4. Baylor, number 6. Iowa State, number 7. Arizona 9. Receiving votes, or excuse me, Cincinnati 19. Then receiving votes would be Texas Tech and Kansas State. I know that BYU also lost a lot of guys, but
They're gonna be good too.
they're going to be good too.
They brought in the guy from he was an assistant coach. He was the highest paid NBA assistant coach, and then the AD or someone basically paid this guy just a lot of money, and then
That's a private school, so
he has brought in basically like a G League type coaching staff. BYU's gonna be good.
BYU's going to be really good. It's just going to be like the murderer's row of that. And then of those, how many top 11 teams? Because Auburn's number 11 in the Maui Invitational. What, 6 of the top 11 are in there? 5 of the top 11?
Yeah, I think at least 4.
Wild.
And yeah, I mean, talk about Iowa State having a cupcake schedule. This is not a cupcake schedule. It's set up to not be a one. I mean, if Iowa State, if they play the right teams in Maui, they could, have a very, very strong resume before Big 12 play even starts.
The other part, this Wiffle Cybert's Big 12 segment, is the actual first poll, like it kind of mentioned, is the coaches poll came out, which I wouldn't put a lot of stock in this. The logistics of this are a coaches poll.
It's very much like blue bloods, like Kansas is deserving to so, but they've been good for so long.
Oh, I was talking about, no, the Jeff Borzella one, that's just his opinion. The actual football poll, the coaches poll for football.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah. The logistics of how that works are that the coaches technically vote for that. But do you think Matt Campbell has a lot of time to survey 30, 40 teams in there, see how good they are? Watching some film on the guys that you're playing, and then you go, oh, what about them? So usually it's like the SID, the sports information director, that I imagine the coach might just like hand him a list. SID corrects it pretty quick and then submits that. So it's like this one is the worst one, but it's the one that has come out the most recently to the start of this year.
I don't like basketball is a little better. Like the top 10 teams, it's usually you don't see too many top 10 teams just completely fall. Football, you see it all the time.
All the time.
So I personally don't take too much stock into the top 25 until probably week, I don't know, 6 or 7.
The only
But
thing,
let's talk about it.
But the only thing that I was going to bring up about this is, so if you include the receiving votes segment, like the receiving votes category, and just total them up, however many votes they have, because that's all it is like you get this number of votes, and it's just you have the 25th amount of votes, and you're ranked 25. You have the 7th amount of votes, you're ranked 7th. So if you, in the receiving votes category, you just keep counting down, and that's where they would be. So if you count those receiving votes teams, there's 10 schools that have received a vote. The lowest ranked one,
10 Big 12 teams.
10 Big 12 teams. The lowest ranked one is Colorado at 49, who has received a vote, which I think that's probably just due to the hype and whatever. I don't think they deserve it. But anyway, but they're 49 of the receiving votes of all the teams. And this is just people throwing stuff out. The highest ranked is Utah at 13. There's 10 teams between 13 and 49. So 36 slots, and there's 10 teams. Every third team between 13 and 49 is a Big 12 team. There is a lot of teams that to me feels like the best description of the Big 12 is that there's no top 3 or 4 teams. Perhaps we'll see by the time the season's done. But there's also a lot of teams between 13 and 49 that are really good and at any point could have a successful season. You just don't know which one's going to come out from that list of 10 schools.
Well, and we've talked about it before. I know Chris and Blum have talked about it before. The Big 12 may not be the most talented league. Like the SEC obviously has, Georgia, LSU, Alabama, Auburn. The Big Ten's got Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon. Both of those two conferences are loaded at the top, and they're probably going to receive more teams in the college football playoffs than the Big 12. But the Big 12 is going to be the most fun league because almost every game should be competitive. You look, from top to bottom, there isn't a doormat team. I mean, I take that back. There might be one or two. Cincinnati may not be very good. BYU may be very good. But anybody can beat anybody anytime. And I just think it's such a wide open. That's what I love about this league. It's so wide open. Yeah, Utah and Kansas State are favored, but you can't tell me that Kansas State's any better than Iowa State. Iowa State, I know they're completely different teams. Iowa State whooped them last year. And I know they didn't have Avery Johnson at quarterback. He's a running back that's playing quarterback.
He'll be pretty good this year. He'll be pretty good.
I'll wait till we see it.
This
He can't throw.
I mean, okay, fish. That is another conversation for another day. But I think fish and water. I think Kleiman is really good at getting guys to be what skill set do you have? Let's do most of that.
You have to remember they have a new offensive coordinator too.
Interesting.
And Colin Klein tried to get Avery Johnson to go with him to A&M.
He said no.
Said no because I think Avery Johnson is of the Colin Klein mold.
Yeah, so it's a lot of running. It'll be fascinating to see how that shakes out. Of the teams that are ahead of Iowa State, so Iowa State came in this receiving votes at 36. That's way too low. First off, but
I love it though.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I love it. I love it. No one's respecting Iowa State. Good. Don't.
Teams immediately above: West Virginia, 33.
I'm not sold on them.
Kansas, 24. I think that's too low.
I'm not sold on them either though. I think they're good, but Jalen Daniels has been healthy for.
It's true.
8 games. Like
Lance Leipold, I just give him the benefit of the doubt.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they are good. I'm not trying to dog on them. They are good, but they go as far as Jalen Daniels goes, and he can't stay healthy. So I don't wish anybody gets hurt. Say he gets hurt in the 3rd game. Who's their backup? Bean's gone.
Yeah. I don't know. But so Iowa State's 36, West Virginia's 33, Kansas 24. I think Iowa State and Kansas are low. I think West Virginia is high. Arizona's 21. I think that's a little high. I don't think their defense is going to be able to hold up.
New coaching, it's tough to get everyone to gel first year with a new coach.
Oklahoma State is 18. Ollie Gordon's really good, but Mike Gundy, when in doubt, they're going to be better than you think they are.
It's his 20th year at OSU.
But I don't know what, outside of Ollie Gordon, I don't know what Oklahoma State, because Aiden Bowman is a fine player. But I think Joel Klatt said it once, where there's a love-hate relationship with quarterbacks that have been in the NFL or in college football for like 7 years. It's because they're not good enough to get to the NFL. So you're in college for 7 years. I feel like that's Aiden Bowman. Like, he's a good player, but I don't know. Now that you have a whole year of knowing that he's the guy, defensive coaches will go into this season knowing that Aiden Bowman is the guy and say, we're going to make him do a lot of the stuff that he doesn't like to do. Now, granted, you got to shut down Ollie Gordon, which is easier said than done. He is the closest thing to Breece Hall that I have seen since Breece Hall. But
I will say though, Iowa State did a good job of shutting him down last year. He had one run of like 78 yards. Other than that, he didn't really do anything.
Yeah. So I don't know. Oklahoma State, it feels like they're a little high. Kansas State at 17 feels about appropriate. Utah
I will
at 13,
say too. One more thing with Kansas State too. They are replacing 4 offensive linemen, which is huge.
And they're replacing an NFL for her 2nd or 3rd round pick with Cooper Beebe, his name. Anyway,
and their Ben Sinnott, their tight end. Yeah. Their running back DJ Giddens, he's good. I mean, he'll be good again next year. And then you got that little dude from Colorado that transferred in.
Chris Kleiman, got him the benefit of the doubt.
They've got some good receivers too, but I'm not. I would say hate Kansas State, so I'm not as high on them, anyways. But I'm drunk right now. I'm drunk on the Iowa State Kool-Aid, Jeff.
I believe it. And if you're drunk, you can sober up at the Iowa Clinic Men's Center, and then afterwards you can follow Chris Williams with low T at Game Day Men's Health. So it's been Williams Blum Wednesday with neither Williams nor Bloom nor being on Wednesday. Grant, you got anything else?
They're coming.
Aliens.
That's all I got, Jeff.
All right. Thanks, everybody.